Hello and welcome to today's lesson. We're going to be learning about how to calculate the upper and lower bounds of calculations and equations. Here is a retrieval practice. Make sure to pause this video for 5 minutes, giving yourself enough time to complete all the questions. Okay, I will now be moving on to the next slide. Make sure to pause this video if you need more time. Here are the questions. Answers. Make sure to give yourself a score out of 6. I will now be moving on to the next. Okay, so here is a really important slide that you should note down. So when we're working out upper and lower bounds, they're going to be different types of questions, and basically we need to know and remember what to do at each stage. So if we wanted to find the upper bound of a formula, okay, what upper bound lengths, should we use upper bound lengths or should we use lower bound lengths? And these different combinations are really helpful. So with the first one, we have the formula A equals B times C. If we want a bigger number, we're going to choose the biggest for each, okay? Because multiplying a big number by a bigger number, or the multiplying two numbers that are big by each other is going to produce a bigger number than multiplying two numbers that are smaller than those numbers, okay? And so on and so forth. So it's the same is if we want to have a smaller number, we're going to start off with the small number in the numerator and dividing it by a big number. So that's going to make the number even smaller. So just make sure to note these. So the lower bound is 99.5 meters and the upper bound is 100.5 meters. And then likewise for the time to the nearest 2 dp, the lower bound is 9.575 seconds and the upper bound is 9.585 seconds. So, like I was talking about, for us to find upper bound speed, we're going to have to use the upper bound distance and the lower bound time. What we end up getting is 10.5 meters per second for the upper bound speed. And then likewise for the lower bound speed, we're going to have to use the lower bound distance and the upper bound time. And our answer is 10.4 meters per second. Right, let's move on to our next question. So, hello. So now we're going to do the I do, we do. So with this question here, it says A equals 250, correct to the nearest 10. B equals 30, correct to the first significant figure. The question A is asking us to find the maximum value of A over B. And then the question B is asking us to find the minimum value of A over B. So we basically need to find the upper and lower bound for both of these equations. So first things first, we're going to have to find the upper bound for A. And then so first things first, we're going to have to find the upper bound for A. So the upper bound for A is going to be 255. And then the lower bound for A is going to equal 245. And then likewise, we're going to find the upper bound for B. And that is going to one significant figure, that's going to be 35. And then we're going to have to find the lower bound for B. And that's going to give us 25. And we're going to use that. So with working out the maximum value, we're going to have to use the upper bound A, and we're going to have to use lower bound B. Okay, so let's see our answers. And like I said, for finding out the maximum, we're going to use upper bound and lower bound. And then what we end up getting is the maximum is 10.2 and a minimum 7. So I want you to pause the video and have a go at this we do question. All right, so I'm going to now move on to the answer. And here you have it. All right, great job. We're now going to move forward. So here's another case of I do, we do. I'm going to do a question, then you're going to do one. So we want to find the upper and lower bounds for A. So when we're adding two numbers, the bigger we can get those numbers, the bigger the answer is going to be. So we're going to find the upper bound. So this is rounded to two significant figures. So we're going to find the upper bound of A. The upper bound of A is just going to be 8.25, and the lower bound of A is going to be 8.15. Right. And then for B, the upper bound is going to be 0.635, and the lower bound is going to be 0.625. So for us to find our upper bound A plus B, is going to be upper bound A plus upper bound B. And here we have our answers. All right, so I want you to try out C. Okay, make sure you pause your video because I'm going to go over the answer for C now. All right, so here's the answer for C. Okay, so I'm now going to do the I do for E. So C plus B over A. Well, we are going to want our numerator to be as big as possible. So we're going to find upper bound and for C and upper bound for B. If we are trying to find out the upper bound for this whole equation here, and then we're going to find the lower bound for A. So for when we're finding the upper bound for this question, it's going to be the upper C plus the upper B over the lower A. And then now if we're trying to find the lower bound, it's going to be the lower bound C and the lower bound B over the upper bound A. Okay. I want you now to guess what you think the answer is going to be. So you can pause your video. Okay. So this is what the answer ends up being. So I want you to pause the video and have a go at the last two we do questions. All right, we're going to go through the answers now. All right, let's go on to the next slide now. So here's the independent practice. Make sure to pause the video and give yourself enough time to do these questions. I will be now going on to the next slide to show the answers. Here are the answers. All right, so the next slide is for more questions. Make sure to pause the video and give yourself enough time to complete these questions. And now I'm going to show the answers. Okay,